Um, so let's talk about your own band, which is called
Tokyo Groove Alliance.
Right. And unfortunately, I couldn't come.
Yeah.
So could you tell us a little about that band?
Well, originally, I should probably just quickly backstep. There was a band I had here for 15 years called Tatopani, and that was with two other American guys and myself. And one guy played percussion and a lot of Middle Eastern percussion and hand percussion, so not Brazilian percussion or Latin percussion. The other guy played saxophones, bass clarinet, so a woodwind player very much like me, although he didn't play flute, and tabla. So a really interesting mix, and I had all my flutes and saxophones plus didgeridoo and a little bit of percussion. So it was a very eclectic group and really great group. You can find some of our stuff on my website.
Yes.
And unfortunately, one of the guys, Robbie Belgrade is his name, he suddenly had to up and leave Japan, maybe a bit like you did, for personal reasons. He just decided to leave. And he went back to San Francisco. And so Christopher Hardy, the percussionist, we were sort of left in limbo. So we started this new group. And the new group comes from that background. It's very world music, eclectic, very improvisation based. And we expanded it though. We've got now, so he's on percussion and I'm doing my thing. Then we've got bass, electric bass, a guy called Jeff Curry from the States, and a French piano player called Frédéric Viennot, who's a very interesting piano player. He can improvise, of course, but not from a standard jazz background, so very interesting. And he plays keyboards as well. And very unique to the band, I think, is a Japanese guy called Keisuke Ota, and he's a violinist.
So only one Japanese and interesting.
And they're very eclectic. Two Americans, one French, one Australian, and one Japanese. And Ota-san, the violinist, he's barely Japanese. He looks like he's from a different world.
I think I will use one of the videos then.
Oh, please.
Yeah.
We've got some very nice stuff up on the net right now. We just did
And is the CD?
Unfortunately, we don't have it in CD form. We did this live recording, which you can actually see up on the net, and we're thinking of making it into a DVD, which we'll probably do. But it took us a long time to get it out there, and we just wanted to put it up on the net to have people listen. So if anyone is interested, they can see all those videos from my website plus on YouTube.
And tonight, the band. Are you the co-leader? Because no.
It's a quartet, and we're all equally sort of involved in the band. But it's definitely the piano player, Hayashi Masaki. Yes. It's his group. He does 95% of the compositions. So it's kind of his baby. But we've been playing over 10 years, and we all contribute. I think he was saying tonight, sometimes he'll bring like a very basic score, chart, and then we kind of take it.
Right. Tonight, is it because of the band you played a lot of soprano compared to the tenor saxophone? Is it because of the band, or are you?
That's me. Yeah.
So you like the soprano more than the?
I've always played soprano.
So the tenor is the second voice.
Definitely I love it. I love the tenor. Yeah, just love it. But soprano is definitely my voice, I think. I've sort of, in some groups, there's one, I play with a number of different groups in Tokyo. One with a piano player called Hiroko Takada. Very nice piano player. She does kind of European style jazz, a little bit ECM-ish. And I play exclusively soprano with that group because that's what she wants. And I love it too. So soprano's always been my main voice.
Now regarding Japan.
Here we go.
Last year, March 11, were you here? When it happened?
I actually left. I go back to Australia about 3 times a year, which does help to keep me sane. I love Japan, but we've all got to get out every now and again. And I just, excuse me, I just happened to leave on the 10th of March.
Oh.
So I arrived in Adelaide on the 11th. You know, I flew overnight. I get to Adelaide, I turn on the news, or everyone's kind of talking, and suddenly we realise the earthquake hit. So I was in Australia and I had to decide whether to come back, and it was really hard because most of my friends and family were all saying, well, of course you're not going back, right? And I had, you know, I mean, I'm very lucky in that I spend a lot of time in Australia, probably about 3 or 4 months out of the year. But I'm definitely based here, you know, there's no question about it. This is where most of my work is. So, you know, I'm sitting there looking at this ridiculous situation in Japan unfolding, you know, nuclear disaster, kind of going, well, what do I do, you know, like, and at first I thought, well, this is going to put me back in Australia, you know, I don't have any choice. And then it, even though, you know, people who know, we all know it hasn't settled, really, but the initial real fear of like this could be a major catastrophe in not just that area, but, you know, in Tokyo. You know, that kind of settled a little bit. I came back and I had a tour that I had to do, and I did that, and I thought I would see what was going to happen. And, you know, 1.5 years has passed, and I'm still here.
So how do you feel about the future of Japan?
Well, it's funny, you know, like, depending on where you are and who you're talking to, you know, I'm in certain situations here where I talk to people, I'm with people, and there's no sense of the fact that happened at all now. You know, it's not in the news, which is ridiculous. And most people have just kind of, even though, you know, somewhere it's there, but they, you know, in their daily lives it's gone. But I'm actually very involved in a lot of activism here, and have some friends who are heavily involved in that. So I'm actually quite up, I think, with what's going on. So depending on who I talk to, you know, when I'm with my activist friends, it's very bleak, you know. The situation is like really bad up in Fukushima, and they're not doing anything about it.
Right.
I actually have a lot of friends who are from Fukushima as well, musicians plus other friends. And it's just you know, an absolutely devastating situation. And it's not going to get any better for, like, as you know, decades, you know, 50, 60 years. And that's the reality. But most people in Japan are totally unaware of that. So daily life in Japan, you know, particularly in Tokyo, tends to just kind of keep rolling along. And at the moment, I can kind of go with both. But I do feel like, you know, Japan's really up against it. You know, they'll survive, of course, but particularly that area, I have no idea what they're going to do. You know, basically, it's going to be uninhabitable.
Well, for me, these 6 weeks here now in Tokyo, it's actually, for me, it's really disappointing, because it's exactly how you said. I feel like people don't have any energy in really the feeling of making a change. When I look at the young people, their mouths are open, the eyes are dead. There's no really
Spark, isn't it?
yes,
Yeah.
it's like, and then what really surprised me is the older people, the number of older people. Really, I mean, it's clear there's so many old people now. Less younger people,
Yeah.
no, less children.
Well, the aging society.
It's really, yeah. And also talking to Japanese, I have a problem. I mean, I speak Japanese, but it seems like we don't talk. So actually, I'm bitter. I mean, I think like maybe more foreigner musicians should come, you know, to shake people's brains here, you know, with music and so, and move them. But from the Japanese side, I don't feel anything really is happening. Actually, people are like giving up, or telling that the fault is with the media, with the politicians, instead of taking responsibilities. So
So no, I mean, I totally hear what you're saying, and I think there's a strong element of that. But I do think there is a positive side to it too, because, which maybe you haven't experienced while you've been here. I'm sure you're aware over the years, Japan has not been an activist country. You know,
Right.
They don't get out and demonstrate and
Right.
protest, right? Now they're doing it, and just right in the middle of the summer, I think it stopped. So I was back in Australia, so I'm not exactly sure what was happening, but up until the summer, so up until August, I was going a number of times. Every Friday night, they held a huge demonstration in front of the Prime Minister's
Out on
residence.
Friday?
Every Friday.
Yeah, I heard about it in New York.
And it was great. And I mean, the number of times I went, masses of people, you know, like 70, 80,000 people. And just, you know, there was a great energy. You know, everyone was like really motivated. So kind of the opposite of what you're saying. But that is isolated. But the great thing about that was that it was all of Japanese society. So up until now, there's been a very kind of select group of activists in Japan, and they're kind of, by the mainstream, they're kind of thrown aside as hippies, and you know. Now there's like young people with kids, old people, housewives, salarymen in suits. They're all there because I think something has gone over the threshold in Japan. Even though, you know, I do agree that there's an element of apathy here. Yeah, but having said that, there are people that they're realizing that, hey, we can't just sit back. And a lot of people were asked why they were there, and they say, well, I can't just sit back and let this be, so I have to get out there and protest. So, you know, it's a mix. I actually feel reasonably positive on that level.
Good. Okay, Andy, the battery is dying. Before it dies.
My battery's probably
It was
dying
great
after the
meeting you, and hope to see you soon. And Doobie Doobie Doo likes to know more about you, so everything is now clear between you and Doobie Doobie Doo. So if there's anything you want us to know, just mail us, video, YouTube, whatever,
Great.
and we keep in touch.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for meeting.
Pleasure to meet you.